Welcome back to Fireplace Conversations, where African stories ignite global impact. I'm your host, Dr. Ikechukwu Okoh, physician, entrepreneur, coach, and storyteller. This podcast is not just about leadership or strategy. It's about soul. It's about going back to the fire, where ideas were shared, wisdom was passed down, and change began with a story. Today's story is simple, but it carries weight. It's called The Village Without a Leader. There once was a village, nestled in green hills, rich soil, and the laughter of children. They had clean rivers, good harvests, skilled teachers, and old men with deep wisdom. But seasons changed. The rains became unpredictable. A strange illness began to spread. The roads wore down, and the elders, those who once knew what to do, began to fall silent. The village needed someone to rise, someone to coordinate, to speak, to unify. But nobody came forward. The farmer said, "I just want to plant. I'm not a leader." The teacher said, "I have my own problems." The young man said, "Let the old men handle it." The old men said, "We've done our part." And so the village waited and waited until it was too late. The illness spread, the crops failed, and eventually people from outside came in. They came with money and with rules and with conditions. They rebuilt the village, changed the school curriculum, privatized the river, and renamed the village. The people survived, but lost their story. This parable isn't fiction. It's happening in communities, companies, ministries, and even families. It's what happens when capable people remain on the sidelines. It's what happens when fear of criticism silences action. It's what happens when good people say, "I'm not a leader," while bad leaders take the mic. Let me tell you a personal story. Many years ago, while working in Nigeria, I was on call one evening. A young woman came in with septic shock. The team froze. She was pale, cold, tachycardic. Her blood pressure was crashing. For 90 seconds, no one moved. They were waiting for the consultant. But I realized something. Leadership doesn't wait. I stepped in, issued commands, secured the airway, fixed the IV lines, called for antibiotics and fluids. She survived. But I learned something more important than the medicine that night. Leadership is rarely assigned. It is assumed in a moment, in a decision, in service. This isn't just medical. I've seen it in startups where the co-founder sees the ship sinking but avoids tough conversations. In hospitals where a toxic culture thrives because no one wants to be the difficult one. In government where policies harm people but insiders stay quiet to protect their jobs. Even in families where trauma continues because no one wants to break tradition. And yet, when someone finally speaks, everything begins to shift. Let's talk about what I call the silence tax. It's what we all pay when no one speaks up. Staff burnout, mission drift, poor patient outcomes, disengaged youth, corruption that becomes culture. When people wait too long to lead, we all lose something. Let's be honest. Why don't people step forward? Here are 5 real reasons I've heard in coaching and leadership settings. Fear of criticism. They'll say I'm arrogant or think I know too much. Imposter syndrome. Who am I to lead others? Exhaustion. I'm barely keeping my own life together. Past failure. Last time I tried, I got hurt or ignored. No clear model. I've never seen someone like me do this before. Sound familiar? So let me offer a different perspective. You don't need a position, a title, a badge, or even an invitation. You only need the courage to care, to see a gap and decide it's yours to fill. That's leadership. It's not always heroic. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's lonely, but it always matters. Let's make this real. Here are 3 examples of silent leadership that changed things. Nurse Ruth in a Lagos clinic. She started a simple WhatsApp group for vaccine reminders. Child immunization rates improved by 41% in 6 months. Chinedu, a young founder in Enugu, he created a weekly free workshop for secondary school kids on entrepreneurship. One of those students just won a national pitch competition. A friend of mine in the NHS, instead of complaining about burnout, he introduced a 5-minute debrief after each critical case. That single practice lowered staff stress levels measurably. None of these people had big platforms. They just stepped up. So, if your village is waiting, your ward is waiting, your startup is waiting, your team is waiting, stop asking who the leader is. You might be the one the fire has been calling all along. As we end this episode, here's your question to sit with this week. Where in your life are you waiting for permission to lead when the silence is costing more than your fear? write that down, reflect, act. This has been Fireplace Conversations with Dr. Ikechukwu Okoh. Today's story was personal but universal. Next week, we'll talk about validation and why too many African founders are still begging for it. Until then, don't wait, don't whisper. Lead quietly but lead now. I'll see you by the fire next time.